Part 104. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 1036. It turned out that Wang Ling went out alone at this time, even destroying cameras and hypnotizing everyone, just to create an occasion to meet his most primitive instructor, the fifth instructor. Before getting the extra-dimensional system, Wang Ling was an out-and-out loser. He couldn't even pass the extremely watery physical fitness test. However, the fifth instructor forcefully forced Wang Ling to become stronger. He said, "This world will not sympathize with the weak, but it will respect everyone who works hard. Maintain the perseverance to fight, and you will be the worst in the army. Sooner or later, I will become the strongest in the entire army." Wang Ling still remembers it and has turned it into a reality. Before joining the battlefield, the fifth instructor even uncharacteristically warned Wang Ling to be extra careful. Later, Wang Ling became frightened and rekindled his fighting spirit because of the news of the instructor's death. Although it is just a program, this program has a profound impact on Wang Ling. Since unlocking the advanced redemption, Wang Ling has the authority to redeem the fifth instructor. However, he has never done this. After all, the revenge has not been avenged and the war has not ended. Wang Ling has no face to see him. Now, it's finally time. Swish. Uncle Hay's efficiency was still so high. As soon as Wang Ling finished speaking, a black vortex appeared next to him, and the figure of the fifth instructor walked out of it. If people saw the scene under normal circumstances, they would either be scared away or be watched. Fortunately, all the diners around here have been hypnotized and turned a blind eye to the scene. As for the fifth instructor, it seemed that he had been dead in the battle for too long, and his mind was a little unclear. After he appeared, his eyes were somewhat dull and confused. Fortunately, the system's memory was transmitted in time through analysis. The fifth instructor understood his situation and identity in a short period of time. He even knew Wang Ling's record and status in the world of Red Alert. Wang Ling. After accepting these memories, the fifth instructor finally calmed down and looked at Wang Ling in front of him with a look of disbelief on his face. Wang Ling did not put on any airs, and even stood up solemnly and gave a military salute to the fifth instructor. "Haha, not bad. But now it's me who should salute you, General Wang Ling." As he said that, the fifth instructor also quickly returned the salute. The two of them maintained the military salute, and after looking at each other for a few seconds, they both laughed. After they were seated, the waiter finally arrived. Wang Ling casually ordered a batch of skewers and asked for some peanut edamame and beer. He didn't talk about anything else tonight, just catching up with the fifth instructor. "Last time we met, you seemed to be a non-commissioned officer, but now, you are actually a general." The fifth instructor also sighed while drinking beer. Wang Ling smiled and said, "Yes, the last time we met, we were still at the police dog training base. Since then, we haven't seen each other for a long time. To be honest, instructor, I miss you very much." After hearing this, the instructor seemed a little sad. "What can I think about? It's just a program. If you want to redeem it, can't you redeem it at any time?" It seems that the fifth instructor is very concerned about his program identity. And his words also made Wang Ling speechless for a while. Before Wang Ling could reply, the fifth instructor joked, "It's you, I didn't expect you to be a player. Let me tell you, when you were just training in the fifth company, why were you so bad? To be honest, at that time, when I punished you with running laps, I was thinking that if you refused to persist, I would kick you out of the military camp." Speaking of this, Wang Ling's face darkened instantly. That was his dark history. He was tortured like this when he first arrived in the Red Alert world, and afterwards he successfully gained the title of the worst in the army. Wasn't all this done by the cheap instructor in front of me? Although it was just to reminisce about the past, this instructor was quite cunning and specialized in picking up these dark histories. However, Wang Ling really found a way to defeat him, and after chatting for a while, after the skewers were served, Wang Ling snapped his fingers and called Agent Tanya from the transfer station to the real world. Tam Tanya. After all, he died at the hands of Tanya. The fifth instructor was really wary of Tanya. When he saw Tanya, his expression changed instantly, and he looked nervous. However, Agent Tanya, as a hero of the Allied forces, had shot and killed so many Allied forces personnel on the battlefield. How could she remember who was who? She didn't remember the face of the fifth instructor at all. She stared at the fifth instructor for a while after he appeared, and then turned to look at Wang Ling. Hey, Wang Ling, is this the instructor you are talking about? He looks ordinary. Well, is there anything special that makes you hate me so much? Wang Ling smiled indifferently and pulled over a bench. Tanya was not polite and sat down directly. She looked at the skewers, which were very novel. She picked them up and measured them for a while before taking a bite. Delicious. Speaking of which, Tanya was also a great beauty, but she was so wild that it was difficult for ordinary men to detect her. The fifth instructor was stunned when she ate barbecue so casually in front of the fifth instructor. After she finished eating this bunch, the instructor calmed down. Yeah, I almost forgot, we are all programs, and your record includes killing Tanya with your own hands. Speaking of this, Tanya couldn't help but rolled her eyes and touched her neck. Yes, it still hurts a little now. Someone is really cruel. Wang Ling twitched his lips in embarrassment. The instructor asked, what do you want to do if you redeem her now? Wang Ling was not embarrassed to say that Tanya had redeemed it permanently, so he just smiled and said, it's just showing off, instructor, I have avenged you, and the enemy is right in front of you now. What are you doing? Do you still want your instructor to kill me again? Tanya was unhappy with this and ruined the atmosphere with just one sentence. The instructor shook his head quickly. Please spare me, I am no match for her. What are you thinking about? Wang Ling couldn't laugh or cry for a while. The world of Red Alert has come to an end, and the revenge has been avenged. There should be no more conflicts now. We won't talk about that tonight, just chat casually. Well, for your sake, my aunt will reluctantly accompany you. How old are you, aunt? How old are you? It's okay and I'm shouting like this. Wang Ling and the fifth instructor were reminiscing about old times. The atmosphere was actually somewhat dull, but with the addition of Tanya, the atmosphere suddenly became more lively. Although the relationship and status between the three of them were very special, tonight was completely different. Ignoring those identities, I just treated myself as an ordinary person, drinking, talking, and indulgently. After 3 rounds of drinking, when the three of them were preparing for the final barbecue, Wang Ling's eyes suddenly froze and he looked sideways at the door of the store. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 1037. Click. Not only Wang Ling, but Tanya also noticed the abnormality at this moment. Her eyes instantly turned cold. She took out a pistol in one hand and became alert. What are you? The fifth instructor was confused and was startled by the posture of these two people. Wang Ling didn't say anything, just looked at him and glanced at the door of the store. The instructor followed his instructions and looked over, and saw a middle-aged man in a black windbreaker walking in the doorway of the store. His face was tinged with black, expressionless, and he looked very cold and stern. Other than that, there's nothing else special about it on the surface. What's wrong with him? The instructor asked. Tanya was the first to answer. This person is not an ordinary person. He has a very cold and strange aura about him, and he is incompatible with the ordinary people around him. After all, she is a hero of the Allied forces. Tanya has killed countless enemies in the Red Alert world and is very sensitive to this feeling. Wang Ling also nodded. The aura is indeed abnormal, and this person's mental resistance is also unparalleled. My mental hypnosis is ineffective on him. After all, this barbecue restaurant is open, with diners coming and going at any time. Wang Ling can't just hypnotize him once. After exchanging the instructor, he can be said to be releasing his spiritual power all the time, hypnotizing everyone who enters this place. Range of personnel. However, this weird middle-aged man in a trench coat broke into Wang Ling's mental hypnosis range, but was not affected at all. Naturally, Wang Ling noticed it immediately. He's not an ordinary person, so who is he? The instructor asked. At this time, he seemed to have noticed the gazes of the three people. The middle-aged man in the windbreaker slowly turned his head and looked at the three people. In his eyes, there was a very strong hostility, and even an undisguised murderous intention. However, this hostility and murderous intention did not last long. He quickly withdrew his gaze and slowly walked to a dining table not far away and sat down. After witnessing the whole process, Wang Ling withdrew his gaze from there and frowned slightly. I don't know, but we are enemies, not friends. No matter what happens, be careful. Good. Oh. The middle-aged man in the windbreaker just sat there, motionless, without revealing any purpose for a while. Wang Ling naturally did not take the initiative to provoke him. The three of them continued to eat and drink, but the voices between them were lowered. Many people were watching the strange man carefully. Sir, what would you like to order? After sitting for a while, a waiter finally came. However, when faced with the waiter's inquiry, the uninvited guest did not speak. Instead, he grinned with a smile that was colder than winter. The most important thing is that the teeth in his mouth are not the teeth of normal people, but the teeth in his mouth, which are very hideous and terrifying, and even the gums are tinged with black. The waiter had also been hypnotized by Wang Ling. She was not surprised by strange things and would even forget them soon. However, facing the smile of this middle-aged man in a trench coat, she still shuddered subconsciously. Gentlemen. Seeing that the man didn't speak, the waiter planned to continue asking. However, at this time, Wang Ling was worried that something might happen to the waiter and interrupted midway. Come on, girl, he is not a guest. He is not here to eat. There is no need to chase him after he asked, go about your business. Oh. The waiter was confused, but after answering, he walked away very obediently. At this time, the middle-aged man in a trench coat, who had been silent for a while, finally turned his scrutinizing gaze to Wang Ling and grinned again. Okay, I've seen a lot of weird things. There's no need to make such an ugly face with me. Wang Ling didn't buy it and got straight to the point. Tell me, what do you want to do here? GG. The middle-aged man in the trench coat finally spoke out, but his laughter was unusually harsh and did not sound like a human being at all. He did not answer immediately, but stood up and walked slowly towards Wang Ling. Click. Tanya immediately picked up her guns and was on guard nervously. Wang Ling also narrowed his eyes, ready to take action at any time. But the middle-aged man remained unmoved. He walked until he was about 1 meter in front of Wang Ling before stopping. Are you Wang Ling? Wang Ling was surprised. You know me? Or, someone behind you knows me? The middle-aged man did not answer his question. Instead, he kept a cold smile and gave the notice, I am here just for you. Wang Ling, see you at the bar in the same city tomorrow night. Bar in the same city? Who wants to see me? What do you want to do? Wang Ling asked. But after the middle-aged man conveyed the words, he stopped answering any questions at all. His humanoid appearance gradually cracked and transformed into a green humanoid monster, which looked like a goblin. Tanya and the fifth instructor were startled, but before they could be too surprised, the body of this uninvited guest suddenly retreated, and a black vortex appeared behind him, sucking him in. Buzz. Wang Ling was unwilling to give in. He gritted his teeth and immediately released a wide range of spiritual power, spreading over several kilometers of the nearby area and carefully searching for all passing pedestrians. However, under his search, there was no one suspicious, and no one worthy of his attention. The mastermind behind the goblin just now seemed to be hiding in a very far away place, controlling everything. What is he? A monster? The fifth instructor was still horrified. But Wang Ling had already calmed down, snorted coldly, and said bluntly, he is not a monster, but a program, a product of high technology. What? The instructor was still a little unfamiliar with the way the goblin disappeared just now, and did not recognize its identity. Hearing this, he was shocked again on the spot. Tanya, who has been in the system's transit system, knows much more than him. It's a very familiar way of disappearing. It can be confirmed that his identity is the same as ours, and he is also a character in the game world redeemed by the system. Wang Ling, this is already there are other system hosts challenging you. Wang Ling nodded calmly, yes, I have been waiting, but I didn't expect it to appear today. With the abilities of other system hosts, it is probably very easy to find out my name and identity. With the identity of the goblin just now judging from the results, the host of this system should choose to bind a game to a fantasy game. This is interesting. What will happen if a sci-fi war game collides with a fantasy host? I'm looking forward to it. Hey, Wang Ling, this is obviously the Hungmen banquet, can't we not go? Tanya became worried. Wang Ling shook his head, no. What is coming will always come. You can't hide, so just face it directly. Besides, I don't think this person will be stronger than me. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 1038. Wang Ling, I know you are very strong, but don't be careless. You are the host of the system and have been strengthened into a monster with the help of the system, but don't forget that other hosts also have systems and are also being strengthened. Tanya was still uneasy about Wang Ling's confidence. Uncle He just said that the union between hosts is not allowed, but he didn't say that it can't be avoided. Why do you want to challenge? Just based on his words, you want to go to the Hungmen banquet obediently? Wang Ling didn't know how much he listened to these words, but he didn't respond at all. On the contrary, the fifth instructor understood Wang Ling's worries and explained on his behalf, you can't escape it. Wang Ling is different from us. We can return to the system, but Wang Ling cannot. He is originally a person in the real world, and he has classmates, relatives, and friends. If he does not respond to the challenge, the safety of those around him may be threatened. Although the monster just did not say how Wang Lingshuang's date was going, this signal is also the most dangerous, because the enemy's methods it can all be used. That's right, Wang Ling nodded. It can be said that from the moment the system selected me, the fate of all this has been doomed. I don't know what the master of the system behind it is thinking, but it is obvious that we are just his pawns. The rules of this game of chess were also formulated by him. I am afraid that only the person with the last laugh is qualified to meet the master of this system and learn all his purposes. As for what he wants to do, whether it is a good thing or a bad thing, I have no idea at all. All we can do now is defeat all opponents and break through this chess game. Tanya was also concerned and confused. After listening to the instructor and Wang Ling's explanation, she finally understood the seriousness and irresistibility of this matter. But this girl is also stubborn. Okay, since I want to go, I will go too when the time comes, and I will be your bodyguard. Wang Ling glanced at her and joked, I thought you said you wanted to be your girlfriend. This. Tanya blushed instantly, but before she agreed, Wang Ling changed his mind. As you said, my opponent may be very strong. If you follow me, you may die. This is different from the red alert world. You after death, there is no way to redeem it, so even so, do you still want to go? Yes, Tanya said with shame and anger, glaring at Wang Ling, if the opponent is very strong and you die, we will still disappear. I will simply accompany you to go crazy like this. Even if I fail, I will die in front of you. Wang Ling didn't answer immediately. Instead, he took a closer look. When Tanya's face turned a little red, he suddenly laughed, okay, I didn't waste my points. I have the consciousness. However, I am very confident, this host will not be my opponent. TCH, Tanya touched her face, somewhat speechless with Wang Ling. At this time, the instructor interrupted, okay, we have almost eaten now. Wang Ling also has something to do, so let's disperse here first and give Wang Ling more time to rest. Good. Alright. After both Wang Ling and Tanya agreed, the instructor stood up, moved a bit and said, Wang Ling, come on, I'm optimistic about you. As he spoke, he even extended his thumb towards Wang Ling. Then, a black vortex appeared, and the fifth instructor left the real world. Tanya did not bother Wang Ling at this time. After asking him to rest more, she also returned to the transfer station. This gathering was really special. If it weren't for that uninvited guest, Wang Ling would really want to have some more debauchery. However, there is no way, the challenge has come. After paying the bill, Wang Ling walked out of the barbecue restaurant calmly. The permeating spiritual power also disappeared, and all the diners who were still dining also recovered from the hypnotic state. They watched helplessly as black vortexes appeared several times, and they transformed into living beings several times. However, this group of people could not remember it at all because of the previous hypnosis. Now no one knows that very bizarre things have happened here, and they are still the same. When it was time to eat and drink, only the owner of the barbecue restaurant stared at the black surveillance screen and blinked blankly. As for Wang Ling, after leaving the barbecue restaurant, he did not return to school immediately. Instead, he went to a bar in the same city to check out the spots in advance. This bar is only more than 10 minutes drive from the school, which is relatively close. Wang Ling and the others once spent a night here. In the end, Wang Ling got Wei Bowen, who was as drunk as a dead pig. Carrying it back can be regarded as carrying some of their memories. Standing at the top of the bar, Wang Ling once again used his mental power to investigate, but found nothing wrong or anyone unusual. It seems that the host of this other system and its subordinates have not planned ahead here. To be honest, during the detection, Wang Ling regretted not taking Xiao He out. If Xiao He was present at the barbecue restaurant just now, let him remember the smell of the goblin and take him out in a wide area. A search might reveal the host of another system. But it's too late to regret it now, I can only wait until tomorrow night to act by ear. The enemy is in the dark and we are in the light. Wang Ling really couldn't find the location of the other host, so he simply didn't bother. With a movement through time and space, he returned to school and arrived at the dormitory. He thought that the three bad friends were still playing the game, but when he came back, he discovered that these three people had also gone out to buy a batch of kebab beer, and even some stone cakes, peanuts, etc., and were eating and drinking. Even Xiao He was receiving preferential treatment. One paw was holding a skewer and the other was sucking it down happily. Wang Ling suddenly returned, but they were already used to it. Xiao He even picked up 2 bunches of steamed bun slices and handed them to Wang Ling. After touching the dog's head and looking at the 3 people in the hip-hop, Wang Ling felt a faint sense of satisfaction in his heart and didn't want the scene to be ruined. The Hungmen banquet is tomorrow night, and nothing will happen before then. That night, I just went to bed early as usual, but I didn't go to the red alert world again, and I slept until dawn. If nothing unexpected happens, Wang Ling will not walk around randomly before that night, but sometimes people don't look for trouble, but trouble always comes to their door. That afternoon, when Wang Ling was taking his lunch break, Dongfang Yuking made a habitual call to his home to say hello. This was originally a normal thing, but while talking on the phone, Dongfang Yuking suddenly jumped up and down. What? Those bastards, why are they so bold? Upon hearing this, something must have happened in his family. Sure enough, after being anxious for a while and hanging up the phone, Dongfang Yuking became as anxious as an ant on a hot pot. What's wrong with Yuking? Zhang Shenke asked. But Dongfang Yuking was just worried and didn't say anything. Only when he saw Wang Ling's curious eyes did he feel like he had found a savior. Wang Ling. Fortunately, you are here. Something big happened to my brother's family this time. Help me. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 1039. Don't worry, what happened? Wang Ling reluctantly comforted him, but in fact he was somewhat nervous. Dongfang Yuking then replied, oh, my family is in business, isn't it? Some goods are sent abroad, but the cost of air transportation is too high, so those goods that are not in a hurry are all shipped by sea. But when we went to sea yesterday, my batch, when the workers and the goods arrived in the northwest area of the Taiping Sea, they encountered a group of pirates. The goods were seized and people were hijacked. Pirate. It scared me. What did I think? Upon hearing this word, Wang Ling's heart finally relaxed. Although pirates are scary, what is even more scary is the host of another system. Wang Ling is afraid that this host will not follow the rules and threaten his roommate's family in advance. It seems that he is overthinking. Aren't there enough pirates? Dongfang Yuking was anxious. It doesn't matter if the goods are gone, I'm really afraid that those pirates will kill everyone. My dad contacted the army through the police, and now the troops have been sent out, but I'm still a little worried. Don't worry. Wang Ling, your ability can instantly reach any place in the world, can you help me? You don't have to put yourself in danger, just help find out the news. Please. It seemed that Dongfang Yuking was really anxious, and she seemed to be pleading when she spoke to Wang Ling. Hearing what he said, Wang Ling was still fine, but Zhang Shenke and Wei Bowen were shocked. Damn, this is no joke. Pirates. We actually met pirates. Now it's really bad. Wang Ling, can you help with this? Although they knew some of Wang Ling's special abilities, they didn't know Wang Ling's true combat power at all, and they didn't dare to push Wang Ling too much on this matter. However, when Wang Ling heard this, he didn't feel too much pressure. Instead, he smiled and said, don't worry, some pirates are nothing to mention. To the northwest of the Taiping Sea? Let me take a look. Really? Thank you so much. Dongfang Yuking was so excited that she grabbed Wang Ling's hand and thanked him repeatedly. But Wang Ling had no time to pay attention to him now. He had already subconsciously searched the northwest area of Taiping Sea. However, although he exchanged for a global electronic map of the real world, it was still at the civilian level, so clarity was a problem. In addition, the area was too large, making the search difficult. There were many ships passing by on the sea, but through rough electronic video viewing, nothing unusual was found. Could it have been moved to a den? During the investigation, Wang Ling suddenly had such an idea. If that was the case, that would be troublesome. He didn't know where the den was, and he didn't know where to look on the electronic map. However, as soon as these worries flashed past, he locked onto a ship from the electronic video, and there was indeed a group of gunmen hijacking it. Although his face could not be seen clearly, his sloppy clothes showed that it can be seen that this must be a group of pirates. Whoosh! Now that he had found the target, Wang Ling went out directly. Without even saying hello to Dongfang Yuking, he began to move across time and space and touched it. Of course, after all, the distance was too far. If Wang Ling moved directly, there would inevitably be a period of stiffness. Facing a group of vicious pirates, he was not arrogant enough to face them in the stiffness stage. With the convenience of the global electronic map, Wang Ling searched for many islands. He stopped on the coastline and soon bought a mask and put it on after recovering. Then he used those islands and reefs as base points to travel through time and space dozens of times. Moved, and finally boarded the top of the hijacked ship. At #UN. %UN hashtag. Inside the ship, the group of pirates didn't know that a powerful enemy was approaching, and they were still threatening them wildly. However, Wang Ling couldn't understand what they said at all. After dozens of seconds of stiffness, Wang Ling used his spiritual power again and spread it to the interior of the ship. However, upon inspection, Wang Ling felt a little embarrassed. This was actually a passenger ship rather than a cargo ship, which meant that Wang Ling had rescued the wrong ship. "Sir, this is my first time rescuing someone. It's much more troublesome than I thought. It's all a mess." Wang Ling couldn't help but curse for a while. "But it doesn't matter, they are all pirates too, let's deal with this first." Thinking of this, Wang Ling simply moved through time and space and entered the interior of the ship, and happened to land in the area with the highest density of pirate hijackers. #UN%. /U0026*. This sudden appearance shocked the group of pirates. They were chattering without knowing what they were saying. The passengers who were standing in a row and had their hands folded at the gunpoint were also shocked. They didn't know. What the hell happened? Buzz. Since he didn't understand the language, Wang Ling simply didn't bother to talk nonsense with them. Before the muzzles of the guns moved towards him, he immediately released a powerful mental pressure to scare the pirates. All the frightened pirates did not dare to move. Although these pirates licked blood from the tip of their swords, and many of them even had lives in their hands, Wang Ling's mental power could intimidate even the hawk leaders of the Red Alert World Allied Forces, let alone this group of pirates. A thief. This shock was so effective that all the pirates on the ship lost their fighting capacity. The passengers on the ship were not directly affected by the mental pressure, but after only being exposed to some scraps, many people were already frightened and had a shuddering feeling deep in their hearts. Wang Ling later adjusted the pressure range before they returned to normal. At this moment, everyone on board knew Wang Ling's terror and no longer dared to treat him as an ordinary person. Some foreigners even started praying on the spot. Naturally, there were some Chinese on the ship who tried to strike up a conversation with Wang Ling and ask about his identity. However, Wang Ling did not answer any of their questions and just asked them to tie up all the pirates. "Who among you knows Chinese?" Wang Ling asked after gathering all the pirates together. After looking at each other for a while, there was indeed a thinner black guy who answered, I can." "Brother, who are you and what are you going to do?" "Since there is someone who can talk, it will be easier." Wang Ling squatted in front of him and asked, "How many pirate gangs are there in the sea area?" "It's just us," the young man replied tremblingly. Wang Ling's eyes lit up and he asked, "Did you hijack a merchant ship yesterday? Where are those people now?" "In the..." When asked this question, the young man's eyes flickered a little, as if he didn't want to tell the truth. "Buzz." However, Wang Ling could tell at a glance that there was something wrong with him, so he simply didn't bother to scheming with him and directly used his mental power to hypnotize him. "Tell me, did you kidnap that group of people? Where are they now? Are they okay?" After being hypnotized, Wang Ling became less troublesome. And the young man knew everything after being hypnotized. "We hijacked them, and we were very interested in the goods on their ship. We took the people to the den and locked them up, and the leader didn't say anything about them. It seems that the crew members are still safe for now," and Wang Ling is a little relieved. "Okay, then, where is your hideout?" Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 1040. Our den is here. #UN%. /U0026. After being hypnotized, This black guy was naturally unguarded and told everything he knew. However, the pirates around who were not hypnotized seemed to know the content of their conversation. Many people spoke quickly, trying to interrupt the black guy and tell him not to say anything. But, is it useful? On a small island 60 nautical miles away in that direction, all the crew members are locked in the dungeon below the leader's residence. The black guy couldn't help himself. Under hypnosis, he directly exposed their lair and said after finishing, he pointed in the direction with his face turned sideways. Wang Ling smiled. By accident, he rescued the wrong ship, but he didn't expect to encounter the same group of pirates. Now, it would be easier to just ask him where his lair was. All the pirates on the ship have been controlled and all passengers are safe. Now that they have found out the target, Wang Ling doesn't want to stay too long, so he stands up and checks the electronic map. Wang Ling had no specific impression of how far 60 nautical miles was. However, following this direction, he could search for more than a dozen islands of different sizes within a range of more than 100 kilometers. He just had to search them one by one. Little brother, I still don't know your name. You saved our lives. Please leave your name at least. Just when he finished the search and was about to leave, a Chinese man behind him stopped him again. Wang Ling looked back. Not only the Chinese, but also the other foreigners looked at Wang Ling expectantly. But how could Wang Ling's identity be revealed so easily? Just smiled funny. If you say that I saved the wrong ship, I guess you will be very embarrassed, but I did save the wrong pirates. So, you should just pretend that you have never seen me. Whoosh. Anyway, even though he was wearing a mask, Wang Ling was not afraid of his identity being exposed, and he spoke without any scruples. With a funny remark, he immediately left the ship through time and space, leaving only the messy passengers. Before searching the sea area on the electronic map, it was really difficult to find the pirates. Now that there are specific directions, it is much easier. Wang Ling appeared on the island at the general location and searched for a while, but no target was found. Continue to move to the next island, but failed to find the pirates, so they continue to move. This kind of search did not last long. It only found the fourth island, and many pirates were found in the dense jungle. This is it. Different from modern troops, Wang Ling does not need to be too cautious in exploring step by step. A wide range of spiritual power spreads, and he can roughly detect people within a few kilometers. He knows exactly where and who is. With the help of moving through time and space so fast, he stunned all the pirates along the way without giving them time to react. The area of the island is not too big, so Wang Ling simply circled the island to clean up the miscellaneous soldiers on a large scale. After clearing away the guards on the outside, he continued to go deeper. When he encountered a large number of pirates, he simply used his mental power to suppress them. Shocked everyone and then knocked them unconscious one by one. Why just knock him out and not kill him directly? That's because the Chinese troops are rushing in, and it's more appropriate to hand these pirates over to them than to kill them here themselves. As a perverted warrior trained in science fiction war games, Wang Ling is now like a ghost, wandering around the entire island as if he were in a deserted land. In just a few minutes, he was knocked unconscious by just one person. Almost 80% pirates. Da-da-da. Da-da-da. However, this group of pirates also installed some cameras on the island. Wang Ling's rampage was finally discovered by them. A series of gunshots came from the center, which seemed to give him strength. Really, isn't it good to be knocked unconscious? Why are you seeking death? Wang Ling sighed. For these people, he simply gave up the idea of knocking them unconscious. He used time and space movement to quickly approach. Then a shockwave went down. Except for the leader's palace, all the pirates in the center were shocked in an instant. It was reduced to pieces, and as a gust of sea breeze blew by, the smell of blood seemed to float in the air. Even though Wang Ling's murderous spirit is very strong in the Red Alert world, in fact, he has never committed any crime in the real world. If he really wants to do it, he is still a little resistant. However, he did not treat this group of pirates as humans. After the shockwave, his eyes were still cold. After detecting the situation in the palace, he moved directly through time and space and landed in front of the pirate leader. This pirate leader was dressed like a dog, with a big gold chain and a small diamond watch, but he was just fat. He had obviously been free and easy for too long. Wang Ling showed no mercy towards this man. Before he could start shooting in fear, Wang Ling punched him and knocked him away, knocking several gaps in the wall. After he landed on the ground, he vomited blood from his mouth. "Mo, the person is also unconscious. Special people receive special treatment." Wang Ling was very harsh on this guy, but he didn't beat him to death. He was just seriously injured and fainted. Next to the pirate leader, there were two frightened girls, wearing sexy bikini underwear, who didn't know where the pirate gang abducted them from. Wang Ling didn't show any mercy to them, and knocked them all unconscious with a knife. So far, the pirates on the island have either been knocked unconscious or dead, and there is no longer a threat. Wang Ling then spread his mental power to the underground cell and explored the structure here. This palace is made entirely of marble, which is very hard, but Wang Ling can even hit a tank, so why does he care about marble? One hand transformed into the form of the wild beast king, and he suddenly hit the floor under his feet. With a boom, it penetrated the entire floor and landed in front of the cell. This was obviously not the first time that this group of pirates had hijacked people. There were 3 waves of prisoners in the cell, one of which was all Chinese, and they were obviously employees of Dongfang Yuking's family. Wang Ling's special way of appearing also shocked these people. Seeing Wang Ling walking towards them, one of them even asked tremblingly, "Are you a pirate too? What do you want to do?" "Pirate? Tisk tisk, I'm not that boring," Wang Ling said with a smile. "Don't worry, don't be so nervous. I'm here to save people. The pirates outside have been dealt with. Let's go." "Wait. Take us with you too, please." As soon as he finished speaking, before these people could recover, a group of foreigners in the next cell became excited. One of them even spoke Chinese and began to beg. In fact, even if they came, Wang Ling would save people without them opening their mouths. After glancing at the 2 cells, Wang Ling walked over calmly. There is nothing special about this kind of cell. It is made of iron bars welded into a large cage and locked on the outside. Wang Ling didn't have a key, but that didn't stop him. He didn't even reveal his Beast King form, so he grabbed the iron bars of the cell with one hand, tore them off completely, and used brute force to carve out a 2-meter-high door. Loopholes. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 1041. His. Seeing Wang Ling tearing apart the prison bars like a twist, the foreign hostages all took a breath of air, obviously shocked. However, Wang Ling wore a mask and was not worried about his identity being exposed. He simply ignored their expressions. After violently destroying this cage, he easily broke another cage and released all the foreign hostages. After the shock, all these foreigners thanked them desperately, but Wang Ling did not respond to them. He just glanced at them lightly and walked towards the prison where the countryman was. These employees of Yuking's family watched Wang Ling destroy the cage with their own eyes. Now some of them were dumbfounded, and some of them had their eyes shining, knowing that they were saved. But just when they were expecting Wang Ling to destroy the cage and release them as well, Wang Ling stopped midway and directly released a space-time fluctuation circle, enveloping all the people in the cage, a space-time wave. The movement brought them to the edge of the island, leaving only the two waves of foreign hostages whose eyes almost popped out. Special people receive special treatment. This time, Wang Ling was originally trying to save the employees of the Yuking family, so his treatment was naturally better than that of the hostages. Anyway, with the mask on, no one could see his face, so Wang Ling had no worries about this special ability. As for the foreigners, Wang Ling didn't bother to take care of them anymore and just let them come out on their own. It was the first time for these employees to experience time and space movement. After a brief period of stiffness, a group of people seemed to be stunned, with a sense of confusion and unreality. They were in a dungeon one moment, and now they are at the beach. Teleportation. This is it. Some people with strong acceptance ability already know what happened and have even accepted it. Their eyes looking at Wang Ling are full of eagerness. But others seem to be still dreaming, and some even pinched themselves. As for Wang Ling, he didn't care about the employees' reactions and was just watching the electronic map. Now, he could have brought these employees back to Country A and completely out of danger, but he did not do so. Because it can be seen from the electronic map that the armed helicopters of Country A's troops are already rushing in. The island is only 5 minutes away at best. Wang Ling was only responsible for rescue. He was not good at the aftermath, so he didn't want to take on this troublesome job himself. After seeing the armed helicopter, Wang Ling smiled, turned around and said, "The troops of Country A will arrive soon. They will bring you back to Country A safely. I won't join in the fun. See you again when we are destined." Whoosh. After saying that, he didn't even wait for the employees to respond, and immediately left the island through time and space, leaving only the group of anxious employees, still shouting, "Hey, hey, little brother, don't leave in a hurry, I still don't know what your name is." How could they know Wang Ling's name? Whether Wang Ling listened to these words or not made the same difference. Now that the rescue mission has been completed, Wang Ling's time travel movement directly spanned a considerable distance and landed on the roof of their school's dormitory building. After a long period of stiffness, Wang Ling returned to the dormitory and landed in front of his roommates. Dongfang Yuking was still anxious, while Wei Bowen and Zhang Shenke were trying to persuade him. This scene lasted for who knows how long. It was not until Wang Ling's return that the situation was broken. "Wang Ling, how are you?" Dongfang Yuking rushed forward, grabbed Wang Ling's arm and asked. Regarding this anxious issue, Wang Ling did not joke with him, and immediately said with relief, "Don't worry, I have rescued the person, the army personnel will be here soon, your employees are safe." "Ha ha ha, great, thank you, brother, I'll treat you to dinner tonight." Dongfang Yuking was happy upon hearing this. In normal times, it would be a good thing to be invited to dinner, but today it was really not possible. Wang Ling had a hungman banquet to attend in the evening, so he could only shake his head and refuse. And while they were talking, the armed helicopters of Country A's troops had also arrived on the island that was a pirate den in the Pacific. I thought there would be a fierce battle here, but when the special forces got off the plane and saw the employees who had been rescued, they were confused. After asking them about it, they found out what happened. After a while of disbelief, they all rushed towards the center of the island. Along the way, they kept seeing pirates who were knocked unconscious, and the expressions on their faces were even more exciting. Finally, he met the two waves of foreign hostages who had escaped, and then saw the pirate leader who was beaten half to death. After a period of shock, he reluctantly accepted this reality. I asked the group of employees from Country A who did it, but they didn't know Wang Ling. They could only say that it was a young man wearing a mask, and they also recounted Wang Ling's clothing, height, and figure. However, these physical characteristics of Wang Ling are too popular. Based on these retellings, Wang Ling cannot be found at all. There was no other way. Although there was no battle, since all the hostages had been rescued, there was no need to take any more risks. All the employees from country A were safely sent to the helicopter, and the two waves of foreign hostages were placed at the same time, and all the foreigners were kidnapped. After knocking the pirates unconscious, extra manpower was sent to transport them back to the country, and the matter was finally over. Of course, it was over on the surface, but Wang Ling's abilities during the rescue were recorded. Afterwards, many people were inquiring about Wang Ling's identity, even the army was also investigating. As for Wang Ling, who was involved, he had no energy to pay attention to these. Although the rescue at sea caused a certain range of shock, it really was nothing to Wang Ling. It was just an episode at best. The night after the rescue, Wang Ling took Xiao He out, ate something, found a deserted place, took Xiao He back to the system transfer station, released Tanya, and the two went to a bar in the same city. This is what Wang Ling is really concerned about. Maybe the host of another system will show up here tonight? The night at the bar in the same city is particularly lively. When you enter the lobby from the store, you are immediately hit by a blast of DJ sound, and the hair on your body seems to be caressed by sound waves. However, neither Wang Ling nor Tanya felt any discomfort when they first came to this environment. After all, in the world of Red Alert, we are used to the shock of continuous gunfire. The deafening sound is far beyond what the current sound wave can compare with. With Tanya, Wang Ling came to the corner of the hall in a low-key manner, and symbolically ordered some foreign wine. While tasting it slowly, he was also releasing his mental power and exploring the surroundings. Although they wanted to meet tonight, the host of the other system did not specify the specific time. Now in the bar, there is still no abnormality found, and even within a few kilometers, there is no special person. However, the more this happened, the more vigilant Wang Ling became. The overall atmosphere was very much like the calm before the storm. It was unknown what kind of power it would have when it exploded. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 1042. If I were DJ, DJ, DJ. If I were DJ, DJ, DJ. In the bar, loud DJ music continued to play, and bar singers sang loudly. The lead dance team twisted their bodies on the stage, driving a large number of drinkers to sway along with them. The atmosphere was very hot. But Wang Ling and Tanya were always sitting in the corner, tasting foreign wine unhurriedly. They came here not for fun or indulgence, but for an appointment. Now, the other host of the system has not yet appeared, and even the subordinates it exchanged have not appeared. Wang Ling and Tanya can only stand still and continue to wait. Wang Ling, will that host really show up tonight? In the heated atmosphere, Tanya waited for a moment and couldn't help but ask. The bar hall is extremely noisy. If ordinary people want to communicate, they have to lean in and shout loudly. However, Wang Ling and Tanya had long been accustomed to the roar of artillery fire in the Red Alert world. The noise of these sound waves did not affect their communication. They were just talking casually, and both of them could hear clearly. Wang Ling swung his wine glass and replied calmly, I can't guarantee that, as we are both system hosts, if he shows up, the two of us may not get along. If he doesn't have the confidence to kill me, I'm afraid he won't show up. The probability will be higher. When Tanya heard this, she was unhappy. Then why are we stupid enough to wait here? Wang Ling replied, it's just possible, not necessarily. Moreover, even if the host is not sure about dealing with me, I'm afraid he will send a large number of subordinates to try the water. We don't know where he is hiding now. Since the other party is willing to take the initiative, we have a fight, so naturally we need to ask for advice. Oh, then why do you have to choose a place like this? The music is so loud, isn't it too noisy? Isn't it too chaotic? Tanya continued to ask. Wang Ling rolled his eyes, took a look around, and replied, I chose this place because it is chaotic enough. When we meet, there is a high probability that we will fight and cause a sensation. but there is a mix of dragons and snakes in the bar. Dare to the owners who open the bar are all backed by powerful forces. Anything can happen here, and fights are common. The risk of meeting here is relatively small. Of course, it is also possible that the host itself is like this. My temperament, I like this kind of messy place. Get high. Not too much, not too much, keep having fun, everyone, swing with me. As soon as he said this, the singer and the lead dancer on the stage started up the rhythm again, and a group of drinkers in the audience also stood up and swayed. However, it seemed that he had gone too far. While the lead dancer continued to set the rhythm, he actually extended his middle finger to the drinkers at the table below who did not respond. This move directly angered the people at that table. The wine bottles were smashed directly. 5 people came on the stage together, dragged the lead dancer off, and beat them with ping pong ping pong. The hotel security guard was not a vegetarian either, so he hurriedly joined in. However, these security guards were not here to break up the fight. Instead, they started fighting with the 5 people, and the scene was very chaotic. However, the bar was used to this kind of chaos, and many drinkers around were even cheering, as if they were watching a show. Humph, it's just like what you said. There are really everyone here. I'm also a little itchy, so I'll join in the fun. Okay. Tanya clenched her fists, her restless temper came up, and she just looking at it makes me want to fight. Wang Ling couldn't do anything to her, so he simply didn't stop her. Go ahead, don't draw your gun, don't kill her. Oh. After responding like a man, Tanya finally untied her restraints, smiled ferociously, and walked up slowly. Those big men were worried, so how could they care about Tanya? As soon as the girl stepped forward, a strong man was kicked over. Just when she was about to hit Tanya, the girl suddenly stretched out her hand and stabilized the strong man very elegantly. Although Tanya spoke Chinese because of the system, the appearance of the American girl was still very conspicuous. Coupled with her beautiful face and hot body, her appearance immediately attracted the attention of all the onlookers. I thought this girl was here to break up the fight, but to my surprise, as soon as she secured the strong man with her front foot, the girl punched him. The big and thick man turned over twice under her punch. Fainted immediately after falling to the ground. Ouch! This move shocked the onlookers, and after making strange noises, they all started to boo again. And Tanya did not disappoint them. She clenched her fists, walked directly into the fighting circle, and started fighting without saying a word. She hit the Allied Army's body punch very smoothly. Whether it was the security guard or the few drinkers, it didn't take more than a minute before and after. Within minutes, they were all knocked down, several fainted, and several wailed and screamed. Tisk, tisk, you look strong, but you're actually vulnerable. After taking action, Tanya left this comment, and then returned to her seat under the cheers of a group of people. Wang Ling glanced at her and teased, "You are a girl, how come you are more violent than the big men?" Tanya was unconvinced. "Tch, where are we now? It's not even enough to warm up. It's far behind compared to you." Wang Ling smiled and said nothing. With Tanya's intervention, this round of fighting also ended, and the cheers in the bar continued, but with a different lead dancer. However, Tanya's limelight also caused some troubles. Many rich and powerful young men seemed to be eyeing Tanya. In the next period of time, several people took the initiative to strike up a conversation. Wang Ling was too lazy to talk to them, but they noticed Wang Ling. After all, he was sitting at the same table with Tanya, so it was easy to think of a relationship between boyfriend and girlfriend. When most people saw this situation, they would leave in despair after hitting a wall. However, there was a dandy boy who saw that Wang Ling was unhappy and started to provoke him. "Boy, get out of here and get out of here. This is not the place for you to stay." "Are you talking about me?" Wang Ling frowned. He had tried his best to keep a low profile, but he didn't expect to be targeted by Tanya, the scourge. But Tanya didn't take it too seriously and didn't help. Instead, she stuck out her tongue at Wang Ling, which made Wang Ling furious. However, just when Wang Ling was about to respond, the mental power he spread detected that a complex pattern similar to a teleportation array appeared out of thin air in a large hall on the second floor. The whole shape was circular and 6 meters in diameter. After the teleportation array was formed, a flash of light appeared on it, and 10 strange-looking people suddenly appeared. The first one was the middle-aged man in a cloak who issued the declaration of war yesterday. Behind him, there were 5 goblins, 4 burly savage monsters, looking very ferocious. After these 10 people appeared, they naturally walked out of the hall. When they left the teleportation array flashed again, and 10 monsters with different appearances appeared, and then appeared one after another. With more than 50 monsters, the teleportation array gradually disappeared. "I've been waiting for you for a long time, and it's finally here," Wang Ling smiled. "Tonight, these monsters are the protagonists." "Hey, kid, are you pretending to be stupid?" Seeing that Wang Ling ignored him, the dandy young man sneered to himself. He was so angry that he grabbed Wang Ling's collar. Snapped. However, Wang Ling's attention was not on him at all, and he didn't even bother to answer him a word. "It doesn't matter which family you are from, just go ahead and slap him." Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 1043. Snapped. Wang Ling naturally held back on this slap, but after all, his attention was not on the boy, and he could not control the force well. Under the slap, the dandy young man suddenly stood up, spun around 3 times and landed on the ground. With half of his face it swelled up quickly, and the 4 fingerprints on it were very obvious. The whole person was lying on the ground and twitching slightly. He was stunned for a moment. Buzz. Before the guy could recover, Wang Ling had already used his mental power to hypnotize a large area. Except for the monsters who appeared, all the drinkers and even the staff in the bar were instantly hypnotized. Following Ling's order, he walked out of the hall, stayed outside, and remained calm no matter what noise he heard. The dandy brother who was slapped over was also in this group. Under the hypnosis, even the thoughts of revenge were covered up, and he left the hall obediently like a puppet. Speaking of which, hypnosis is also a very useful skill for Wang Ling. He cannot see many things in the real world, but when using hypnosis, he can cover up these things very well and save a lot of money. Trouble. For example, now, the originally messy bar hall has become deserted in an instant. Only the flashing neon lights and the noisy DJ music still indicate the excitement just now. Bah! Boom! Before, he didn't want to destroy at will, but now and then, he was about to face a wave of powerful enemies. Wang Ling didn't want these interferences, so he simply launched an electromagnetic attack, destroying the speakers and cameras in the bar, and even the flashing neon lights. It was also bombed, leaving only 2 swinging searchlights, swinging on a predetermined track in the hall. Now, the bar hall has finally quieted down, and Wang Ling's ears have become somewhat quieter. Da-da-da. Da-da-da. Not long after it was quiet, dense footsteps were heard on the stairs on the second floor. Turning around, I saw that a group of monsters exchanged from the different dimensional system had already walked down in groups, more than 70 in total. It took more than 2 minutes for all kinds of monsters to descend into the hall. Under the leadership of the middle-aged man in a cloak yesterday, they stopped about 20 meters in front of Wang Ling. The monsters stared at them eagerly, as if they could step forward and tear Wang Ling and Tanya to pieces at any given moment. After looking at the surrounding environment, the middle-aged man in the cloak praised, "Yes, you are aware. You know we are coming. Did you clear the place in advance?" Wang Ling crossed his arms and said with a smile, "Special people are treated with special treatment. We are the same kind of people. Of course, the occasion when we meet should be more solemn. However, your master doesn't seem to give you much face. He only sent you idiots to die. You are looking for death. Who are you calling a bastard? Keep your mouth shut, or I'll tear your mouth apart. You little brat, you're not big in stature, but you're not big in tone. Who are you looking down on? Believe it or not, I'll beat you until your grandma doesn't even recognize you, and then cut you into pieces. Dot. The phrase miscellaneous fish provoked this group of monsters, and a series of curses immediately came from behind the cloaked middle-aged man. These monsters are not even smaller than wild orcs, but these types of people, or creatures, seem to have a common problem. The bigger they are, the simpler their minds are. The manic yelling and cursing made Wang Ling feel dumbfounded. On the other hand, the middle-aged man who transformed into a goblin in front was calm. He looked at Wang Ling and sneered, "The leader really doesn't want to see you now, but after receiving the message prompted by the system, he can't wait to compete with you. However, I don't think the leader needs to come forward in person. Behind me are all the bravest warriors of the Aba Kingdom, they are enough to deal with you." Aba Kingdom? I've never heard of it. What game is this host bound to? Wang Ling was confused, but he didn't dwell on the issue too much. Instead, he asked, "Hey, let me ask you, what is your master's name?" "Name? Where are you hiding now? Listen carefully, our leader, whether he is going to change his name or sitting down, will not change his surname. His name is..." "You shut up." Originally, Wang Ling just asked casually. He had no hope of getting answers to such sensitive questions of identity and location from these people. But I didn't expect that there was actually a silly goblin who was trying to be cool, and he almost revealed it, but in the end it was the middle-aged man who interrupted. Wang Ling was also a little surprised by this result. Seeing their funny performance, he couldn't help laughing. "You brat, it's funny, isn't it? I don't like him, so kill him." This ridicule provoked those monsters, and there were 5 big men over 2 meters tall on the spot. They rushed up swinging their maces. The others stood still, as if they wanted to let them test the waters first. "I come." Bang 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 bang. Tanya's hands had been itching for a long time, so she stood directly in front of Wang Ling, pulled out both guns, and fired 5 bullets in succession. After these 5 bullets were fired, the 5 big men immediately stopped moving. However, they were not dead, they were just startled. Looking carefully, Tanya's 5 bullets hit their eyebrows, but the bullets only hit half of them, and the other half was stuck outside, and they could not get the first shot. It kills them all at once. Hey, the hardness of these monsters is higher than I thought. Tanya was also a little surprised by this situation. Damn, it hurts me so much. It scared me. I thought I was going to die, but it turned out to be a bluff. Go on. After the 5 big men were briefly frightened, they also recovered and continued to charge. Bah! Oh! Oh ho! But as soon as they ran 2 meters away, electric snakes suddenly sprang out from the ground and enveloped them in the blink of an eye. Under the strong electric shock, the 5 big men only lasted less than a second before being blasted into ashes. But Wang Ling, who made the move, didn't move at all. His expression was very natural, and he even had time to ask Tanya, "How is it?" "TCH, I can't compare with you. I was just testing it just now, and I won't hold back later." Tanya was not convinced, and turned to challenge, "Hey, those ugly people opposite, don't talk nonsense. Who wants to superior? Roar. I come. A little bitch dares to be so arrogant, go ahead, kill her. Be careful with that little one, he'll discharge." Wang Ling's electromagnetic attack did frighten the group of monsters, but after all, they were so numerous that they were not afraid. Under Tanya's provocation, more than 20 big men jumped out and charged towards Tanya in a fan shape. Go! Bang bang bang! Bang bang bang! Bang bang bang! Oh! Oh ho! However, Tanya is a hero of the Allied forces after all. How can it be simple? It was just a test before, but now it's serious. Under the rapid fire of the two guns, no matter how hard these big guys are, they can't stop them. More than 20 big guys can't run far at all, and they are all blocked. Shoot! Looking carefully, some of the bullets fired by Tanya penetrated directly through the eyes and entered his skull, killing him with one blow, but the more ferocious attack was still at the center of his eyebrows. One bullet could not penetrate, and Tanya actually hit him twice in succession. The shots were fired at the same position, and the power of the two bullets was superimposed. Finally, the first bullet successfully penetrated into the big man's brain, killing him directly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Different Dimension Red Alert World. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 1044. Bang bang bang. Seeing Tanya's performance, Wang Ling clapped his hands happily and praised, as expected of the heroic unit of the Allied forces, awesome. Humph, thank you. Tanya twirled her guns, unfazed by the compliment. Wang Ling didn't take any action, but Tanya almost killed more than 20 people in an instant. This scene was somewhat unbelievable in the eyes of the monsters. However, perhaps because of their personality, instead of being afraid, they became increasingly angry. The middle-aged man in front waved his hand, and all the monsters behind him, except the goblins, rushed forward. After the temptation, they no longer dared to send a small number of troops alone to die. However, if there are more people, will it be useful? Bang bang bang. Bang bang bang. Bang bang bang. Oh. Oh ho. Tanya still maintained her cool movements, firing with full firepower, and under continuous bursts of fire from both guns, the group of charging monsters fell down in rows. Behind these big men, there were even 5 short monsters hiding in pitch black, carrying bone bows and arrows, and concentrated their cold arrows. The arrows they fired had a black light and seemed very sharp, as if they contained some magical energy, which was not accepted by the technology of the real world. However, these arrows were obviously not as strong as bullets. Tanya's reaction speed was far beyond that of these archers. When she was shooting at the group of big guys feverishly, she was even distracted by the arrows that were flying quickly. Several bullets were quickly fired, and all the arrows were exploded in mid-air. This shot frightened the monster archers. They quickly fired a second and third round of arrows, but without exception, they were all shot down. The archer was still unconvinced and tried to fire a fourth round, but as soon as the arrow hit the bowstring, Tanya took the lead and fired several shots in succession, sending bullets into their eye sockets, killing them instantly. Bang bang bang. Bang bang bang. Without these archers, Tanya's shooting is even more unscrupulous. Her shooting speed is not even much slower than Wang Ling, and she is an infantry killer. It can be said that she can naturally restrain these big guys. No matter how many they charge, they can't get close. She and Wang Ling would be shot if they came near. Some big guys were stimulated and imitated it, putting the huge mace on their heads to avoid the vital parts of their heads. However, Tanya immediately aimed at their hearts. The muscles at the heart of these big men are very well developed and tough, and are more resistant to beatings than their heads. However, Tanya used 3 bullets to hit the same position to break through the defense. The power of the 3 bullets was superimposed, and the result was smooth. Put the first bullet into his heart, killing him instantly. Under such fierce shooting, the number of big guys was getting smaller and smaller, and the goblin team behind them, led by a middle-aged man, became more and more frightened and frightened. Bang bang bang. After continuing to shoot for a while, the dozens of big guys finally came to an end, leaving only the last guy who was also frightened. But Tanya didn't rush to shoot it. Instead, she swung her pistol and shot through the big joints of its limbs. Then she turned her guns, walked forward with cat steps, and stepped on the big man's chest. He raised the gun to his forehead and fired 2 shots to end his life. His movements were extremely graceful. After this battle, the bar hall was really messed up. The corpses of dozens of big men were piled together, which looked very scary. Fortunately, all these big men were redeemed by the system. Their essential identities were programs rather than real lives. Even the blood was simulated. After a period of chaos at the scene, the corpses and blood of many big men began to disappear one after another. Weird, weird, monster. Seeing the results of those big guys, the remaining goblins panicked. At this moment, they completely lost their fighting spirit. The middle-aged man in front of him couldn't help but break out a little cold sweat on his temples. Heroes don't suffer the immediate consequences, let's retreat. After a very brief thought, this guy actually chose to run away. His body appearance quickly changed into that of a goblin. A crutch appeared out of thin air in his right hand. He suddenly stamped the ground, and a large teleportation array was instantly formed. Where are you going? Can you take me with you? However, before the teleportation array could be activated, a playful word suddenly came from the center of them. The goblins fell into an ice cellar in an instant. The goblin in front turned around with difficulty and found that Wang Ling did not know where he was. Time came to the teleportation array. If Wang Ling is also teleported back, their master's position will be exposed immediately. Judging from the terrifying attack power Tanya showed just now, this will probably be a catastrophic disaster for them. There was no way, the teleportation array could only be forcibly interrupted, and several goblins quickly ran away in several different directions. Buzz. Boom. However, before they could take a step away, Wang Ling suddenly released a weakened version of the shockwave attack, knocking all the goblins away and vomiting blood. The aftermath even destroyed the bar hall. Suffering from this attack, several goblins were all stunned. They fell to the ground, coughing and spewing out bits of blood from time to time. Wang Ling didn't feel sorry for them, he just walked towards the leading goblin calmly. Don't come here. At this time, Wang Ling, in the eyes of this goblin who was already a monster, became a real monster. As Wang Ling approached step by step, it was frightened and kept retreating. After retreating off the stage and encountering obstacles with no way out, this guy screamed, "I am the #1 disciple of Master Ganba. You can't kill me, otherwise there will be retribution." Whoosh. But Wang Ling didn't care about this. He suddenly moved in time and space, came in front of it, and stepped on him with one foot. He stretched out the index finger of his right hand, and the fingertips accumulated strong electromagnetic energy. Feeling the naked killing intent, the goblin became frightened and shouted tremblingly, "Don't kill me! Don't kill me! Don't you want to know the identity and position of the leader?" Bah! As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Ling had already released the electromagnetic energy and killed the goblin instantly. "I do want to know, but I don't think you can tell the truth, and your mental resistance is too strong, so I can't compete with you." When the lightning fell, Wang Ling also explained with a sneer. Bah! Afterwards, Wang Ling continued to release electromagnetic attacks in several directions, killing several goblins in succession, leaving only the one who tried to be cool and almost exposed his mouth at the beginning. "What do you want to do?" The goblin was at a loss and helpless. His eyes looking at Wang Ling were filled with fear and even a hint of ferocity. However, Wang Ling didn't talk nonsense to it at all. He just focused his eyes and suddenly released a spiritual connection, trying to control its mind. Buzz. However, Such an inconspicuous goblin had very strong mental resistance. It forced Wang Ling's mental connection out of the way and failed to control it. Shout, there are 2 times, Wang Ling was surprised. But the goblin smiled ferociously, want to control me? Hee, no way. We are a specialized mage unit, and our mental strength is not comparable to that of ordinary fools. Really? It's interesting. Since I can't do it alone, what about 2 people together? Uncle Hey, temporary exchange, Yuri. Different dimension red alert world. Author, Sanqian Lang. Chapter 1045. Buzz. As soon as he finished speaking, a black vortex appeared next to Wang Ling, and then Yuri walked out of it safely. After all, she was once the leader of a hostile force. After Tanya saw Yuri, she subconsciously tightened her guns and was on alert. However, considering that Yuri was also redeemed by Wang Ling and could only have one position in the real world, that was Wang Ling's subordinate, Tanya relaxed her vigilance a little. As for Yuri, he has never been redeemed in these days. He only knows about the system and the identities of Wang Ling and himself. He does not know what has happened in the real world recently. After showing up, he looked around and asked, "Is this the real world you live in? It looks really unique." Wang Ling nodded, "Ang, that's right, but don't just care about novelty. I have a job to do when I call you out." When Yuri heard this, the corner of his mouth raised slightly, "Really? Haha, it's rare that you are willing to exchange me for work." Wang Ling spread his hands, "There is no way, look at this green guy in front of me, his mental resistance is a bit strong, I can't handle it myself, let's come together." Good. As a redeemed character, Yuri could not disobey Wang Ling's order. He readily agreed and then took the lead in releasing extremely powerful spiritual power, projecting a spiritual connection and pouring it into the head of the goblin. Naturally, this mental connection failed to directly control the goblin, but the goblin was unable to push it out for a while. During the resistance, it suffered a mental shock and screamed in pain. We can also really see the difference in mental power. Wang Ling's mental power is connected, and he will be ostracized as soon as he comes into contact with the goblins, but Yuri can continue to exert pressure. Although Wang Ling's spiritual power is second only to Yuri and ranks second in the entire Red Alert world, there is a clear gap between him and Yuri, who ranks first. This guy is the real spiritual power expert. But Yuri was also very surprised by this scene, and raised an inconspicuous eyebrow, "No wonder you can't do it yourself, I have to work hard." Buzz. Wang Ling didn't talk nonsense to him, and directly released the mental power connection and projected it onto the head of the goblin. This guy's own mental power to resist Yuri is now going all out and screaming incessantly. Now coupled with Wang Ling's mental power, it collapses almost instantly. The mental resistance is overwhelmingly overwhelmed, and the mind control is successfully completed. The character exchanged by the system should have been the absolute subordinate of the system host, but now this subordinate was controlled by Wang Ling. I don't know how dumbfounded the host must be now. I finally got control. It took so much effort. Wang Ling also sighed as he took over the control smoothly. The goblins who had been resisting fiercely before now calmed down and just stood aside, confused, as if waiting for Wang Ling's order. But Wang Ling didn't ask it immediately. Instead, he snapped his fingers and released Xiao He, "Go, Xiao He, remember its smell." Woof woof. Xiao He got the order, ran to the goblin, smelled it carefully, and remembered the smell before returning, diving into the black vortex and returning to the transfer station. To put it bluntly, Wang Ling didn't want to do this just to have a backup plan. It would be less troublesome. After Xiao He returned, Wang Ling asked, "Where is your master?" After being controlled, the goblin had no resistance. Naturally, it knew everything. It slowly turned its face and looked to the southwest. It opened its lips. When it was about to speak, its originally confused expression suddenly changed. It was very painful, and a green light glowed on the body. The body looked like ceramics, with cracks appearing, as if a powerful energy was about to break out of the body. Damn it! Wang Ling gritted his teeth and quickly released the space-time fluctuation circle, coercing Tanya and Yuri to quickly evacuate and hide behind the stage. Boom! As soon as they hid, the goblin exploded instantly. A strong energy shock wave spread out, destroying the entire bar hall with bruises. An exaggerated semicircular dent appeared in the center of the explosion. The diameter is about 5 meters. With this kind of self-destructive attack power, if Wang Ling were hit, he would probably lose half his life. Fortunately, he was able to dodge quickly. After all the aftermath of the explosion was over, Wang Ling stood up, shook the dust off his head, and cursed, "What a decisive mother," she blew herself up before she even revealed her location. Yuri's face was also very ugly. "I'm afraid this is not its original intention. Although it is controlled by us, the system host behind it can still make it self-destruct through special commands, sacrificing this subordinate to hide itself." After clarifying the truth, Yuri suddenly changed the topic. "You can't disobey the order to self-destruct even if you are controlled. So if it were you who ordered us to die, would we have to die obediently? Why, you're not happy. Don't forget, you said it at the beginning. Even if you are asked to die, you will carry out it? You would rather die than change your beliefs." Wang Ling smiled playfully. But after laughing, he felt relieved again. "But you, a bald man, don't have to be so sensitive. You haven't done anything harmful in the real world. Why should I want you to die?" Yuri didn't want to speak anymore. He didn't seem to like his identity as an NPC. However, Tanya was open-minded and did not pay attention to this kind of question. Instead, she asked, "This monster self-destruct, so wasn't our work tonight in vain?" "It's true that my work is a bit in vain, but it's not entirely true. Fortunately, I brought Xiaohei and remembered the smell of that goblin. When I have time in the future, I can take it with me to search a large area." "I don't believe it. Can't find it? Although it is troublesome, there is still some hope. Okay, all the monsters are dead, let's leave quickly. We might be in trouble if we continue to stay." "Good." After a few simple words, Wang Ling took Tanya and Yuri back to the roof of the dormitory building in an instant, sent Tanya back to the transit station, recovered Yuri, released Xiaohei, and then left with everyone. Back to the dormitory. They left, but the bar was busy. After leaving that area, the drinkers and employees who had been in a hypnotic state also regained consciousness. They were all confused. They didn't know what had just happened. Why were they all staying outside? "Damn it, that bastard dares to hit me, let's see if I don't tear him into pieces." There is one exception, such as the playboy brother who had previously accosted Tanya and threatened Wang Ling, but was slapped over. His memory still retains the moment when Wang Ling slapped him over. In comparison, why did he come suddenly? When we got outside, it didn't matter anymore. I glanced at the crowd and didn't find Wang Ling, so they rushed into the bar hall with some bad guys, but the scene they saw shocked them severely.